Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Butterflies Poison. And if I sound miserable, it's because everything is making me that way today. Like, my recording software. I need to update again for the third time in a week, and then it's freezing, and then it's not working. So, Lord knows this is probably going to be a mess because of that. And then, for some reason, my tablet's been sitting there for days, plugged in but not charging. I don't know. So I don't, you know what? Nothing wants to work with me today, but I forgot to record yesterday. like, I just forgot. All of a sudden, I was like, oh shit. It was not a normal day, but anyway, so we're a little behind. Not that it makes much of a difference. I'm ahead enough. We're not going to miss anything, but still, then I'm like, crap. So anyway, it's been a few days for me, so I have no idea what the hell was going on. Grandma was visiting. Oh yeah, didn't she tell us like, yeah, that guy doesn't. They don't want to marry you, girl. Cause like Sheba's making a mess. So anyway, it happened several days after Tokuko's visit. Sheba's here again, unannounced as always. Of course he is. Just admit defeat and marry the man. It's a weird way to start. I mean, she definitely has feelings for him, but it's one of those like, okay, you're developing those feelings, but like, there's no more choices. I don't think there's no more choices till we get the best end. So like, it makes me feel like we're very close to it, but she hasn't kind of come to terms with her feelings yet. So I feel like it's going to be like there's this buildup, and then it's going to be instant, and it's going to be kind of weird. But oh well. Vegeta informs Spacey of Sheba's arrival, and she trudges toward the entry hall with a mixture of feelings inside her chest. What kind of face should she make? She can't decide. She's aware of the signs of her budding feelings for Sheba, but considering all the awful things he's done to her, she refuses to just come up to him and openly talk about her feelings. But all of Spacey's worries vanish as soon as her eyes meet his. Hey, my lady. I'm sorry. I'm very phlegmy today. So, like, ugh. Sheba's never looked happier. He's been waiting for Spacey with a wide smile on his face. His smile is as raw and candid as that of a child, a faithful manifestation of the feelings inside his heart. When she looks at that face of his, her brain's reduced to a jumbled mess, like a block of melting ice under the sunlight. Reeled in by his smile, Spacey can feel her lips curling upwards. What's the matter? You seem to be in a good mood. Nothing much. I was just happy to see you. Like all the tension is seeping. Before Sheba can finish his sentence, however, he lurches forward like he's losing his consciousness. Spacey blanches. Sheba! Sheba falls down and Fujita hurriedly moves to his side to support him. Overworked? Maybe he's overworking himself and he just passed out. Spacey runs towards Sheba and lightly strokes his face. He's watching her with bleary eyes. Hold on. I just had I don't know what it is. There's just something in my throat. And I just don't want to hack in front, in your ear. It's not going away. I don't know. Sheba, are you alright? Are you not feeling well? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just sleep deprived. The lack of sleep shouldn't have this effect on someone. It does if you're, super sleep deprived. Sheba looks awfully exhausted, and she suspects that if he isn't ill, then he must be overworked. Sheba usually puts on an energetic face despite being always tired, so for him to be reduced to this state means that today his exhaustion has reached a new level. Maybe we should call a doctor. No, I'm fine, really. Can I just lie down for a bit? Should we carry him to the bedroom of the previous master? A good idea. His late father's bedroom and Shigeko's bedrooms are the only empty rooms in the manor. But Shigeko passed away in her bed not long ago, so they can't possibly make Sheba sleep in that very spot. There are guest rooms, but due to the household's poverty and the lack of visitors, the rooms haven't been cleaned in a long while. They don't even have maids to clean the interior of the manor properly. Sheba, we're going to take you to a room to rest. If you need anything, please... I don't want to be apart from you. What? Fujita wraps Sheba's arms around his shoulders to carry him to Yasuyuki's room, but Sheba pushes him aside. Staggering, he moves to walk towards Spacey. I don't want to waste even a second. I want to talk. In your room. Sheba has a point. He's making time out of his extremely busy days to come here. He's the type that hates showing weakness to others, so for him to have pushed himself through exhaustion to be here means that whatever he wants to talk about must be important. After considering the possibility, she feels hesitant about taking him to the room that belongs to her late father. Spacey exchanges glances with Fujita and finally nods. Fine then, let's go to my room. My lady, are you sure? I am. Fujita, please carry him. She no longer feels she needs to be excessively wary of Sheba. Even if he does try to do something weird to Spacey, this is her home. If she screams, Fujita will surely come. Besides, Sheba doesn't appear to be in any state to put his hands on her. He could be faking it. I'm sure he's not, but you know what I mean? She's secretly glad that her brother isn't currently home. If Mizuhito was here, he certainly wouldn't let Sheba be taken to Spacey's room. He'd have taken Sheba out to the trash. Sheba manages to walk to the room on his own feet while being supported by Fujita. They help Sheba lie down on Spacey's bed. She asks Fujita to fetch a water jug and a glass. After he leaves, she sits on the chair next to her bed and examines Sheba's face. Oh, this is actually kind of an interesting CG, out the window. Well, look at the way his hair is. He hits so different when he has the floppy anime hair. You know what I mean? I kind of love it. Sheba, this is your best look. It really is. I love it. Anyway. But I do like the effect of it, how we're looking in from outside the window. Kind of interesting. It's a good choice. Yep. I can't recall a CG where we've seen something like that. I mean, I'm sure there has been some where they've made, that's an interesting choice and, framing it, but, I can't think of them off the top of my head, so. Sheba, how are you feeling? Much better, thank you. Lying down does help. Great, that's good to hear. And I like how the bed smells like you. I'm gonna drag you out of bed right this instant. Sorry. Spacey's internally relieved to know that Sheba still has the energy to joke. His condition is perhaps not as bad as she feared. But a good look at Sheba's face tells her that he's indeed exhausted. She feels a painful pang in her chest. Is this the weakness that he's always hiding behind a strong facade? If you were so busy, why did you force yourself to come here? Because I wanted to see you. Duh. You can stop saying those things, you know. If you keep this up and collapse, what will you do? She hadn't meant to preach to him, but she realizes the words come out sounding like she's nagging. Spacey may not know the kinds of business that Sheba does. However, if the profit he's making is enough for him to build such a splendid manor, his job must not be an easy one. You have time to rest. You can visit me anytime, can't you? Don't force yourself. Sorry. Spacey scolds him and Sheba smiles wryly. Because he's enjoying. She's like, I'm nagging him. He's like, yeah, you're nagging me like a wife. I'm into it. You know what I mean? Honestly, I was panicking. Panicking? But why? Thought you were going to marry the second son of the Ida family. Oh, you're referring to that. Come to think of it, she did go to a marriage interview the other day. In Spacey's mind, the event of that day is already something of little significance. She can't believe something so trivial has been plaguing Sheba's mind, and the discovery brings a smile to her face. That's unexpectedly apprehensive of you, Sheba. You're allowed to be okay. Wouldn't know what to do if you married another man. This is shocking. I thought you had great confidence in yourself. And I do. I'm confident I can make you mine, but one can never be too careful. I kind of actually like that, he was so cocky and overconfident, yeah, well, whatever, she's my fiance, and now he's like, no, but I'm really scared about it, because, I love you. Kind of cute. I was there, and I actually saw you with him in a matchmaking meeting. It's been every day since then thinking about it, and I was anxious. And your anxiety forced you to come here, even when you weren't feeling well. She heaves a sigh, half serious out of exasperation, and Sheba scowls before sitting up in bed. Spacey instantly tries to stop him. See, like, because his hair's like all back, but when it's flopped in his face, he's kind of adorable. Like this, he's got the kind of pompous air around him, you know what I mean? Which is like what we're here for. He's a good character. But like I like the floppy in your face hair. I want the disheveled, like, you know, anime protag hair. Come on. I want that. It makes you look a little more innocent. I don't know. Hey, you should probably lie down for a bit longer. I can't talk properly with you if I'm lying down. Don't worry, I'm alright. How can someone who collapsed in the entry hall of another person's house be alright? I mean, I sometimes randomly pass out. I'm fine. It's been 6 months or so since so like, good for me. I didn't collapse. It was just my body losing all of its tension after I saw your face. And just having you here by my side, I'm starting to feel better. What? It's kind of got suave lines. I approve. Sheba offers such an outrageous explanation with a deadly serious look on his face. She thought she was used to hearing his exaggerated remarks, but apparently not, because his words make her falter. You and your nonsense. Right. I'm not the most sensical person, which is why I thank my lucky stars for allowing me to be this successful. And you. Huh? What do you mean? Well, let's talk about it later. There's something more important for us to discuss, my lady. I want you to tell me how you're planning to respond to the matchmaking interview. I made preparations so that I'll be informed if you decide to marry him. I don't want to take any chances. Tell me, what's your answer? He stares hard at Spacey, the gaze overwhelming. The other party's family has rejected her, but she did plan to decline it anyway. Should she just tell him the truth? If she told him she planned to reject the marriage offer, would he press her to explain the reason? The reason is, of course, because she can't get Sheba out of her mind. However, if she says it out loud, this man will probably interpret it to suit his interests. I mean, how else would you interpret that? I can't get you out of my head. Okay, I guess, you know, in her, she's like, I can't get you out of my head, you're like a poison. And he's like, yeah, you like me. You know, but like, girl, you can't get him out of your head because you know you have feelings for him. You're starting to realize this. You're just not ready to it. You're like, I think I have feelings for Sheba, but I'm not quite ready to accept that yet. Valid. But like, so like if you tell him you can't get him out of his head, he's going to be like, all right, I'm in. And you're like, I mean, simmer down. Because like, I can't handle this yet. Like, I am not ready to accept that yet. Like, they rejected me. It's a pity, really. Spacey says after hesitating for a while. She should have just been honest, honestly. This is where a choice would have been good. Like, and I would have chose be dead up honest. Like, just tell him, like, well, we rejected each other. Like, neither one of us was interested. Like, they rejected you? Really? I mean, Sheba, did you think maybe you had anything to do with that? I like how he's just like, did you forget what you did? She thought he was going to be happy about it, but the expression on Sheba's face is unreadable. I feel like he is happy, but he's also perplexed. Like, they rejected you? The hell? Like, I don't get it. He must be a very indulgent man. Why would he reject you? I really feel like he's insulted me, too. You reject the woman I love? How dare you? You better want to marry her. Yeah, you want to marry her now? Well, tough shit, she's mine. Like, Sheba, you're not helping anything. They do write the characters pretty well in this game. Like, they're fun. You know what I mean? A lot of characters seem to be, like, they're just one-sided. But, like, sometimes shit like this, you're like, Sheba, shh, sweetie, just stop. What are you doing? What are you saying? Spacey finds Sheba's selfish words vexing. You didn't want the talks to go smoothly, right? You even made a show of barging into our conversation. Your words and actions make no sense. Actually, I think I get it now. Sheba taps a fist on his palm as if he just realized something. Maybe I was the cause. Maybe they thought if you two got married, their family would have to face pressures from all directions. Well, that was the impression that I got too. Her eyes met Sheba's, and then for some reason a giggle escapes her. And now he's worried because he's like, oh, did you really want to marry that guy? Like, he's probably feeling bad if you think about it. Like, I don't want to lose you and I didn't want you to marry someone else, but now if you wanted to marry that guy, I might feel bad about it, but also not. I'm very confused. You know what I mean? Sheba's confused, not me. The entire thing is like a poorly written drama. She has a man who refuses to leave her alone. When she visits his manor, he attacks her, and the one time she tries to attend a matchmaking interview, he storms in, utterly furious. Really, he's a great nuisance. And she doesn't understand why she finds such a horrible man captivating. He's really not that horrible. He just, little horrible. He acts horrible. I don't think he's really horrible. He just does really stupid, douchey things. You know what I mean? Where you're like, you really need to think about your actions before you do them. I have awful luck. Why is that? I keep getting played by people like you. More families can offer me marriage interviews, but I'm sure you'll barge in to destroy each one. Yeah, can't argue with that. Sheba reaches out for Spacey's hand in her lap and grasps it tightly. She secretly sucks in a breath, but she doesn't shake his hand off. I'll sniff you out and find different possible ways to destroy your engagements with other men. How cruel. It's like I'm being targeted by an outrageous gentleman. That's right. No matter what happens, I won't give up on you. You're the reason I tried so desperately to cling to life. Again, Sheba's words sound like they hold a hidden meaning. Macy recalls her conversation with Lady Kyoko, where she was told that Sheba had met her in the past. If that story's true, though, why hasn't Sheba said anything about it? Hey, will you tell me the truth, Sheba? About what? About your past. You keep saying things that make me doubt that the evening party was our first time meeting each other. I know you started your business in Hokkaido and gained great success through trading ships. So, if we had met before the evening party, it would be before you went to Hokkaido, right? Where did we meet? What were you doing then? He was just some average schmuck. Like, do you want to know more about me? Sheba fixes his eyes on Spacey. I mean, guy, it's an inn. He studies her face, searching for her answer, and she can't stop a smile from forming on her lips. You really are a strange man. I think you'll still tell me about yourself even without my prodding. No, well, I did tell you about my parents, but I don't exactly want to speak about my past in front of other people. Really? Why not? Because my past wasn't pretty. Not a pleasant story, and it was far from refined. I don't even want to remember it. But I want to know where we met before, and why you're so fascinated with me. Tell me the truth. His answer comes as a surprise to Spacey. She thought any man would gladly boast about his success, particularly if his circumstances in the past were far from happy. She can also relate to Sheba. Talking about one's past is like reliving it. If the past is a painful one will want to keep it to oneself. That way it will ebb back with time and eventually vanish. This man may appear broad-minded, but he's also pretty sensitive. Spacey thinks this is one of today's great discoveries about him. But I have an entirely different reason for refusing to talk about my first encounter with you in front of others. Sheba slightly casts his eyes down and tightens his hold around Spacey's hand. Our first encounter is my prized possession. The more I share it with other people, the more it'll lose its shine. The memory's mine and mine alone. What? You must be exaggerating. I kind of wish, that's my prized possession. That's kind of sweet and romantic. Like, girl, if you didn't already fall for him, I feel like that he's got really good lines. He's got really good lines. But the way he acts, normally you're like, are they just bullshit or is this actually your legitimate feeling? I mean, I believe they're his legitimate feelings, but you could understand where she'd be like, I hesitate to believe these are your legitimate feelings just because of how brutish you act sometimes. You know, but you're all forceful and tough, and then you're like, that first meeting with you is my prized possession. What the where? Hello? Sir? I love it. It's so funny. Oh, he's good. He's a good character. I don't know. I'm not. My life was covered in mud, and you were the only light in it. I wanted to get to where you were to meet you again, and that was my only driving force. Okay. You can't not marry the man now, knowing that, the only reason he fought so hard to succeed and get to where he was because of you. And yet, although at the same time, Sheba, you didn't have to, because I'm going to marry my butler. I'm going to marry my childhood friend, but that, like, he's got money, so that's understandable. And, like, it seems like it would be, like, a, adequate marriage in the times and, like, for societal status, so fine. But, like, I'm going to run away with the butler and our gardener. I'm going to have a lady romance with a woman who's probably old enough to be my mom. And I'm going to fuck my brother. Like, dude, you didn't have to work this hard. You really didn't have to work this hard, but I like the fact that he, like, you know what I mean? It's a little different, but again, the butler and the gardener. I mean, so obviously it doesn't make that much of a deal to me if you have a fuck ton of money or not. And my parents are dead, so they can't say shit. And, like, my brother's only reasoning for not wanting me to get married is because he wants me to for himself, so he's really not going to say anything in polite company, so. Sheba, she doesn't know what to say. She's not sure if she can even form words. This man's bearing his true feelings to her. He isn't lying. There's some unknown power at work here that makes her believe in him. Sheba's admission explains the unhealthy, obsessive behavior that he's shown towards Spacey up until now. There has to be a special reason behind it. Otherwise, everything he's done until now will remain incomprehensible. I was born in the red light. Oh! Damn. I was born in the red light district in Hachioji. My brother could be your dad. I mean, obviously not because he's younger than you, but I'm just saying there's going to be a point in time where there's going to be an awful lot of children saying they were born in the red light district, and our brother is probably their father. I'm just throwing it out there. Anyway, my mother was one of the prostitutes there. I don't know who fathered me. That's kind of sad. Sheba begins to tell her the story of his upbringing. She looks at Sheba as if she's seeing him for the first time. The look on his face right now isn't exactly blank or dead. It's like he's killed his emotions. He's awfully calm, like a different person. Because he's telling it as if it's somebody else's story, you know what I mean? Because then it doesn't hurt as much. Macy stares at the unusual look on Sheba's face as she listens to his story. When I was 4, the brothel caught on fire. Such a huge and terrifying fire. Many other brothels burned, and the fire killed a lot of the prostitutes. My mother died then, too. I became an orphan, and I practically had to resort to living like a beggar to survive. It's kind of sad. A lesson Spacey once learned at school surfaces in the back of her mind. More than 20 years ago, there was indeed a big fire. Sheba's mother must have been one of the victims. I did everything to survive. I tricked people, I stole from them, I hurt them. All these things were as natural as breathing to me. I thought I was going to live in that muddy world forever. Then you gave me hope. We met in a summer retreat. You were just a little kid then. Wouldn't blame you for not remembering about it. It makes it sound creepy when you say that, but I'm sure you weren't much older. Because, like, what are we, like 18 to 20 maybe? And, like, I mean, so, well, I mean, like, he could be, like, 26 to 28. Whatever. But, like, okay, I would say within 10 years. But, like, it is a little weird if he's like, yeah, I was like 20 and you were 10 and I was like, I'm going to marry that girl. That's creepy. But if, like, oh, yeah, you're like 6 and I'm like 10, it's like, you know what I mean? Like when you were both kids, you're just an older kid. It's not as weird. Huh? Did we meet that far back in the past? A summer retreat when she was just a kid. A memory stirs in the corner of Spacey's mind. If they do a flashback with him for some reason, you better make him a baby and not like an adult. Or like, basically like, oh, they look the same. It was when her family was still wealthy. Every summer they'd go to their villa in Hakone to escape the sweltering heat. And she did meet an unfamiliar man there. Okay. Maybe that individual is actually a boy. But to her toddler mind, he looked like a grown-up man. Okay, he's a kid. But it's still weird that as a child, you meet a toddler and you have a weird... You know what? Let's not think too much about it. He was all skin and bones. His glaring eyes were the only thing healthy about him, weariness burning bright in their glint. He looked like a stray dog. I'm going to assume at this point that maybe it was more like something that just spurned him to not give up, not, I'm going to marry that girl someday type of a thing. It was more like, you know what I mean? Inspired him to like strive and be better and do better things. And then it was like, you want to meet the, and then when you find out about, and then like, you know what I mean? Then it's a love thing. Like, okay, we'll see. We're an inspirational story now and then a love story later. Inspirational now is in the time period because we're in the past. I think I remember. Really? Do you also remember that you protected me? Protected you? What? I don't think I did anything of that sort. So you acted without even thinking much about it. You're so amazing. I was out there playing, that's all. Yes, now she remembers it very clearly. Her family's staying at a villa for the summer, and today they're having lunch at Fujiya Hotel, a place that can be reached by a short car ride from the villa. Once they're done eating lunch, both of Spacey's parents move to the terrace to relax there, while her brother goes to take a walk in the garden. Spacey herself is in the shade of some trees, picking flowers. She runs from one spot to another in search of more flowers. Soon she finds herself in an area behind the hotel. There's no one else around. It's a quiet place, but then a boy comes running full speed toward her. What's wrong? Spacey immediately feels bad for calling out to the boy because he looks so surprised. You can't blame him, though. My kid voice. She's crouching down under a thicket shade to pick more flowers, so she must have been hard to spot. Are you playing hide and seek with someone? Oh, yeah. The boy's voice is trembling. I'm just playing hide and seek. And then, from the direction the boy came from, she can hear the angry voices and imposing footsteps of a few men. The boy flinches and crawls into the thicket behind Spacey. The men come running toward them, faces furious. Judging from their appearance, they're probably the workers of the hotel. Is she gonna be such a bitch? This kid? You playing hide and seek with him? They spot Spacey? Flowers? Like flowers in hand? They spot Spacey, flowers in both hands, and one of them asks her, My lady, did you see a little runt run this way? He's skinny and filthy. He went that way, Spacey says, pointing at the general direction of the garden. The men nod and dash in the direction she's pointed. Once they're out of sight, she whispers to the boy inside the bushes. They're gone. You can come out now. Thank you. The boy carefully crawls out of the thicket, and because he's been prostrating on the ground, his face is caked with mud. Spacey takes a look at his face and laughs. What did you put on your face? Such weird makeup. You look dirty. It isn't weird at all. It's actually better for men to look a bit dirty. Is it? Spacey peers into the boy's face with a scrutinizing gaze, and she decided that, yes, he is indeed weird. Men obviously look better clean. Besides, her friend Hideo is obsessive with cleanliness. This boy is weird for thinking that it's actually better for men to look dirty. Hey, look, your arms and legs are all bruised. Do you trip often? I don't. These are from the hits I took from the boss. Boss? The man who's raising me. He makes children like me work for him, and if we don't do well, he'll hit us. He'll refuse to feed us, too. That's mean. But if we do our job properly, he'll let us eat. Sometimes he'll even give us clothes to wear. Bird, shut it! Just clothes? What about other things? Nothing. I don't need other things anyway. After learning about the boy's circumstances, Spacey feels awfully sorry for him. She doesn't know who this boss is, but he's clearly a nasty man. He hits children and refuses to feed them. And he only gives them clothes every once in a while. Compared to this boy, she's leading an incredibly happy life. She has a kind father, a mother, and a brother. I have a kind father. I have a mother and a brother as well. Just kind of phrased weird. I think she like, I have a kind father, mother, and brother. Like a kind father, a kind mother, a kind brother, without saying kind. But it just sounds so weird when you're like, I have a kind father. Yeah, I got a mom and a brother too, but like, at that point. She can point at literally anything and they'll get it for her without hitting without hitting her too. Spacey stands up and takes out a white handkerchief from under her kimono sash. He still has like, see, she's so sad. They really, really went full ham on like the fact that like he's all just bone. Oh, that's so sad. That's mean. He probably still has this handkerchief, you know he does. Like, they make him look like he's like 15, but like, I mean, he could be a teenager for all we know, but like, you know, they make the age difference so drastic. Anyway, here, for you. What? I think we said toddler, but she looks like she's like 6 maybe. Could be 8. Anywhere from 5 to 8, somewhere in that range. Like, she's not a toddler. What? The boy gapes at Spacey, and she takes his hand, forcing him to hold the handkerchief. He still has it. You know he still fucking has it.
You can have it. Use it to wipe your face. You probably don't carry a handkerchief with you, do you?
Do you see his, like, poor robe that's basically falling? It's like, oh, look at his bony legs. It's so awful. But pure white.
It is. Pretty, isn't it? It's my favorite handkerchief. It'll make you look just as pretty.
Spacey says proudly, her words sounding too mature for her age. She got the handkerchief from her grandmother. The handkerchief was made in France and has beautiful embroidery on it. I hope he still has it. She really likes that handkerchief, which is why she hasn't been able to bring herself to use it. On the contrary, she's sure the boy needs the handkerchief more than she does. It's fucking kind of sweet, though. It's my favorite thing, but I'm going to give it to you. Like, aw. She expects the boy to thank her, but for some reason he looks like he's going to cry instead. She offered him a handkerchief, so why does he look so sad? Spacey can't comprehend this boy at all, and honestly, she's a bit disappointed at his reaction. The boy clears his throat and raises his fist to rub at his eyes, and then he turns to Spacey, watching her with wonder. Because no one's ever been nice to him. That's what it is. So that's actually really sweet. And I wonder if, like, he's like, yeah, I just gotta find that girl, because I know she's in high society, and then I, like, wasn't intending to, like, because, like, I could have already been married off. You know what I mean? Thank you. I'll wash and return this handkerchief one day.
Why? I said you could have it.
Because I'll buy my own handkerchief.
Okay, you should come to my manor to return it.
Where do you live?
In summer, not far from here. It's the building on top of that tall hill.
What's your name?
Spacey.
At that moment, Spacey can hear her brother calling her. Maybe he's worried because she's nowhere to be seen.
Oh, I need to go.
Yeah, you're right. The boy seems to have regained control of his emotions, and the sharp glint is back in his eyes. I need to go too.
Hang in there. Don't be the it in your hide-and-seek game.
Right. I won't. I won't be the bad guy anymore. Won't be it. The boy looks like he's determined now about something and clutches Spacey's handkerchief to his chest. The boy may be spouting weird things, but Spacey finds that she quite likes this boy. She hopes he'll visit the manor to play with her soon. I mean... Yeah, I mean, it took a long time, and the kind of play is not what you were thinking as a child, but he's trying. You just keep rejecting him, girl. Oh, stop it. Spacey bids him an enthusiastic goodbye and returns to where her family is. That was her modest and tiny memory of her summer during childhood. Of a summer during childhood, sorry. So you were that boy, Spacey says, still not believing that this is real. She finds it hard to believe that his reason for chasing her was an encounter that happened a long time ago. You do remember, but you were so tiny. Why? Why would you go this far because of something so minor? Minor to you, but it's not to him. You know what I mean? Told you, didn't I? Before I met you, I'd been crawling in a muddy world to survive. No one ever looked my way and gave me such a pure white handkerchief. Or gave you any fucks whatsoever. They paid no mind to you. They treated you like garbage. So, like, I'm just saying, this was momentous for him. But that was just something I did on an impulse. And as a child, too. Even so, your actions became the light of my life. Up to that point, the world was just a worthless and damned place to me. But when I met you, I learned for the first time that there's beauty like you in this world. And I think it was more like an internal beauty, too. You know what I mean? Like, there's, like, beauty is in nice things. Sheba says with all his heart, The sincerity in his eyes renders Spacey speechless. It's kind of cute, actually. To her, what she did that day was just a playful gesture. But to him, it was the light that saved him. Who would have thought? Since that day, I did everything I could to sever my ties with that band of thieves. I wanted to live an honest life, and to gain power that would allow me to meet you again as an equal. I worked, saved money, and attended night school. But I needed more money to study more. So I got help from several benefactors. I had no relatives or parents, so relying on my benefactors was the only way for me to climb my way up. And that meant playing with Kyoko a little. Macy's silent as she listened to Sheba's story. I can't even begin to imagine the kind of world he's talking about. And now she realizes it was thoughtless of her to call his way of life cowardly and disgusting. But the nature of the relationship between Sheba and Lady Kyoko is still weighing on her mind. She knows he didn't have much choice, but when his partner is someone that she's familiar with, she can't help but feel bothered. But the thing is you have to, I guess you have to ask that. Okay, so, benefactor and, Kyoko and your relationship. And he's like, yeah, that happened, but, not anymore, and it's not going to happen if we're, together. I went to Hakone many times for work, but finding you was a difficult feat considering I only knew your name and the approximate location of the villa. When I finally found a villa that matched the clues I had, it was registered under the name of another family. It took me more than 10 years to find you. I didn't think you'd really try to find it. My family did hand over the villa to another family, and it happened a long time ago. That summer resort was one among my few memories of the house. That summer resort was one among my few memories of the household's wealthy days. Macy smiles at the memories. Those were happy days. Her father, mother, and older brother. Everyone was safe in a warm and happy bubble of wealth, spending their days wanting for nothing. Don't you just wish you were in a safe and warm and happy bubble of wealth? I do. But at the same time, in the same world, there were also children like Sheba who were forced to cling to their lives in cruel environments. I'm not quite as bad as Sheba. I'm kind of in the middle. So, alright, I'll be happy where I am. Macy really doesn't know much about the world. She's been spending her days living, dozing inside a cramped, beautiful box. And I'm not worthy of all the effort you put in to find me. The words leave her mouth in a whisper. You were right. We aristocrats don't equip ourselves with the skills necessary to work and earn money. The last ray of hope for poor aristocratic families is the government. So I understand why you, who worked your way up from zero, would scorn us. You shouldn't revere me as the light of your life, because there isn't a thing about me that makes me deserve that title. That isn't true, Spacey. Sheba's voice makes her lift her head. It feels like it's been a long while since he's called her by her name. It's true that I hate aristocrats, and they judge people by their lineages, and they refuse to work, and they only indulge themselves in the extravagant. They disgust me. You're you. I don't care if you're an aristocrat, a commoner, or a foreigner. You're the one who stole my heart away that day. You and no one else. I worked myself to the bone like a madman. I wanted to make you happy with these hands. I wanted the most beautiful person in this world to lead the best life. And then it sounds really oddly romantic again. What? But I mean, it's kind of like... I'm not necessarily sure if, at the time when he was like, I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to earn money so I can marry her. I don't think it was necessarily that, but I think it's become that, I'm going to go with that, because otherwise it's really weird. You really are a weird one, Sheba, because the way they drew him, too, was like, you look like you could be 16 to 18, and she's, 10, not even. So, the age difference there would have been weird to think that you're like, I'm going to marry this girl. She's, still a baby. Not a toddler, but, a 5 or 6-year-old, still a baby. You know what I mean? Gross, dude. She could have just looked small. I don't know, but you know what I mean? But I'm with the idea of, yeah, I'm going to make something better of myself and pay that, because it's a beautiful, not, oh, this beautiful woman, because she's a child. So that's a weird thing to think, but it's more just that kindness and the beautifulness inside of her. You know what I mean? Kind of makes you work harder, and then, it just kind of comes out to be now I want to pay back. But, especially when you find her as an adult, then it becomes more romantic. I'm into it for that idea. We'll go with that for me. It'll make me feel a little bit better. But, his extreme theory makes her smile wryly. Given that he used to live like a beggar, maybe it's only natural that he believes money is everything. But the belief still sounds a bit too extreme in her opinion. Of course, Sheba's words just now make her happy. However, she still can't fully accept the fact that he did it all for someone like her. One reason for that is the discrepancy between his actions up till now and the words he's just said. Well, that's because he also doesn't know how to be, like... He doesn't know how to be posh and, like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe he's thinking, like, forcefully romantic. He doesn't know how to just sit back and, like, take it slow. He's a little intense, you know? You say I'm beautiful and all, but you've been treating me awfully rough. What do you have to say about that? When it comes to you, I just can't keep my cool. Sheba hangs his head down in shame. He's the one that in every single game where they're like, men are wolves, you better watch out for them, basically. I can't help it. You just show up and I can't keep my hands to myself. I think you're going to need to learn that. Self-control, buddy. But, like, still, I'll accept it in this game because, you know, it's okay. I was happy when I got to see you again. When I saw you standing up to those men that night, I was happy because you haven't changed one bit. Still as straightforward as I remembered you. Making you my wife was the most important goal in my life. And there's no one else I'd rather spend the rest of my days with. This kind of... it kind of makes you feel bad when you go down the other routes and you're like, it was over there mad that you married your butler. So, when you deny me or stubbornly reject me, I feel heartbroken and hurt and lose my ability to think straight. I even thought of making your body mine first in case I failed to claim your heart. That is a little psychotic. That, you know, you have some really good lines and you can be a little romantic, although being a little rash and impulsive, but that's disturbing. I'll allow it, because, like, I'm enjoying this. Even though it's wrong. Such a horrible man. What about my feelings? Were you planning to disregard them? I know my next words will probably make you hate me even more, but I've never been rejected by a woman before. Never. I was confident. I'm telling myself that I'd eventually succeed in making you mine. And then I was proven wrong, and I might have thrown a tantrum because things weren't going according to my will. At least you're self-aware. You know, if only you had told me earlier about our first meeting. If you'd been frank and straight up saying that you've been working so hard for my sake, I wouldn't have been that obstinate. Spacey, I feel the intensity of your willpower, but that's exactly why I still can't understand why you're obsessed with me. Also, you keep saying things to emphasize that you can always buy me with money. Those things hurt me. I couldn't help but want to oppose your hatred toward the aristocrats and your obsession with wealth. Yeah, my stubbornness must have given you mixed signals, huh? Sheba shakes his head and sighs deeply. It's all bravado, you know what I mean? He's like, yeah, and I am wealthy and no woman's ever rejected me, and then we do, and he's like, that's not how I wanted this to go. Like, you're putting on airs, thinking that's going to impress us. I believed a man wasn't supposed to tell a woman that he'd been living for her. I was thinking of telling you about my past after you opened your heart to me. Why? I don't understand why you thought it was a good idea. Well, I was sure you wouldn't remember a thing about our first meeting, and I imagine you wouldn't know how to react if an unknown man came up to you and professed his undying love for you. Yes, I guess you're right. But still, your speech and conduct in the early days following our reunion? Unbelievable! Any woman would reject a man who tries to force his way into her life. I admit I was out of control. I was just desperate because I wanted you so badly. Ugh, you can't say those things now. It's not fair. I can't be mad at you. The man who used to act all high and mighty is showing his meek side to Spacey for the first time, and she's having some difficulty processing the change in his attitude. The reunion was far from ideal. It was the worst. I mean, but that's what we like. Not to mention the terrible things he did to her again and again. But she gradually finds him captivating. The worst and the most awful player in this entire situation is none other than herself. I used to hate you so much. Whenever you open your mouth, you'd spit out insolent things or talk about money. You're a forceful man with no regard for other people's feelings. I thought you were the worst person I'd ever met in my life. Those aren't the nicest things to say to me. But I agree. I'm the worst kind of human. The glint in Sheba's eyes grows brighter, hotter. Matter of fact, I want you so badly right now I can barely hold myself back. Sheba! Ugh. Oh! Although it's an awkward kiss because my face is smushed in his, but still, it's the clinging intensely to me CG. Like, in case you didn't know it was a CG. But he pulls her by the hand he's gripping. Spacey falls forward onto Sheba's chest and he wraps his arms around her. Perhaps it's the surprise that makes her forget to breathe for a second. Stop it! Why do you always do these kinds of things without warning me first? So I should warn you next time, huh? You're missing the point. Don't twist my words. Sheba's arms are firmly wrapped around her waist. Her face is growing hot and the alarm inside her head won't stop ringing. Let me go, or I'm gonna scream. Go ahead. Scream. Because you always act like this I'm a simple man. If I see something I want, I will reach out for it. I won't ever pretend I don't want it. Sheba stares at Spacey in his arms. Her face is only a few inches apart. You. Want you. He's mine. Her heart's pounding loudly in her ears. Their lack of distance amplifies the power in Sheba's eyes, and they're drawing her in. Such a selfish man. Arrogant. The lowest kind of man. She curses him repeatedly in her mind, but she notices that the words almost sound affectionate inside her brain, and it baffles her. Why did it turn out like this? At that moment, they hear footsteps approaching. The footsteps that belong to Fujita. He's gonna walk in and she's gonna be like, it's fine! My lady, how is Mr. Sheba doing? Fujita asks through the door, and for a moment she can't find her voice. She needs to scream for help. This is her chance. Her only chance. But the longer she thinks about it, the heavier her tongue feels in her mouth, and she can't move it to speak. Sheba's fiery gaze is still fixed on her, enchanting her. Fujita seems to have interpreted Spacey's silence the wrong way, because his voice sounds slightly shaken when he asks, My lady? He's all right. Her voice trembles a little, and her mouth offers a response that goes against her logic. I'll stay here for a while. You don't have to do anything. Very well. The footsteps move, retreating from the door. She wants to backpedal and stop Fujita from walking away, but she can't speak. Because a certain overbearing man's hot lips are sealing hers. She wants to resist, but he's holding her tightly against her will. Spacey's brain supplies her with a loop of excuses to justify the kiss. Yes, a simple kiss doesn't mean she's accepted this man. She has no choice. It's all his fault! So you're okay with this? He murmurs, pressing his lips to her ear. A shudder runs along Spacey's spine, and she closes her eyes. That's rich coming from you. You won't stop even if I say no. You know me very well. Dude! He chuckles lightly. You're just as stubborn as I am. Maybe even more. He unties the sash of her kimono with deft movements. Oh! We're going right for it! Now that she's lost a layer of clothing, she can feel the warmth of Sheba's hands through the thin layers remaining. I feel like there was probably maybe an inappropriate CG here that was like a little risque and they took it out because it's like just a black screen, you know what I mean? Oh, no, we went right for okay, no. Because I was thinking something similar to this. Maybe a little less boob. But you know what I mean? And I was wondering, did they take the CG out? Nope. Still there. I'm not moaning. Seems like you'll never get used to this, no matter how much time passes. Stop teasing me. I'm not complaining, though. Is this supposed to be, in the future, or no? His lips are tingling from all the intense kisses he's given her. Oh, her lips, sorry. Sheba's tenacity feels familiar and different at the same time. The arms wrapping around her are just as strong as she remembers, but she can't detect any impatience in his hold. If anything, it feels like he's wrapping her in a gentle embrace. There's people in the house. I mean, when you're rich and you have servants, there's going to be people in the house. But I'm just saying, we're not married, so this is going to be inappropriate. They keep exchanging sweet kisses over and over, and her rigid body slowly grows relaxed. Spacey's heart and mind have melted, like her entire being is morphing into a completely different life form. The fear of losing herself and the sensation of a new world she's never ventured into before throws Spacey's heart into disarray. Gonna throw her body into some disarray. But when she feels Sheba's burning hot body temperature, waves of pleasure flow to all of her four limbs like thick honey, eliminating her worries and robbing her of the ability to think. Love you, my lady. Trust your everything to me. Be mine. While listening to the prideful man's gentle whispers, Spacey feels like she's being sucked into a hazy world, pure white and sweet like milk. She could say, like, no, I didn't want this, but the thing is you told Fujita that he was fine. You could have been like, Fujita, help? And then he would have walked in and then, you know what I mean? That would have been like a no, stop. So, we kind of told him yes. So, eventually the storm passes above Spacey. Spectacle's like an illusion, but it's more vivid than any reality. Oh, like I'm dreaming. You always exaggerate. Not exaggerating. I've never lied to you, and I'm not going to start now. I always speak my mind with you. Okay. So we just, like, obvious. I mean, you knew what was happening. And then it's like, boop, shh, cut out everything. So we didn't have to read any awkward things. We just skipped right the fuck over it. Again, because of what would have happened. But you know things happen because he's topless now. It's actually kind of a pretty CG. I'm not gonna lie. How do we do it? Hide it like this? Okay, there you go. It's a pretty CG. Sheba hugs Spacey tightly while kissing her gently. Sheba's ecstasy-filled eyes are gazing into Spacey's, and her heart grows warm. Too warm. Feels like it's going to melt. Oh, I know. The realization dawns on Spacey without preamble. She is in love with this man. There's no doubt about it. And she'll probably fall even deeper in love with him. I know it's probably too late to ask, but... Sheba smiles while stroking Spacey's cheek. The smile on Sheba's face right now is the warmest one she's ever seen him make. My precious lady, will you marry me? You're right. It's a bit too late to ask that now. She smiles as she replies to him with the sarcastic comment. You should already know my answer. I wouldn't have given myself to you if I didn't plan on marrying you. Because, I mean, like, it's too late to ask now we had sex so we're married. I mean, obviously, like, for her and her standing, she's like, obvious. But, like, a woman can have sex with a man without getting married. You know what I mean? It's 1918. It's not 1818, okay? Like, we're sort of modern times. Still a little backwards, but a little more modern. You know, we're on that, like, chasm of going both ways. I want to hear your proper response. I want to hear the words from your mouth in your voice. Sheba's words almost seem like sulking, and she can't stop the giggle that escapes her lips. This man can be awfully childish at times, but he looks so adorable right now. He's got the floppy anime thing going on. I will. Marry you, I mean. Please make me your wife. Yeah, phew. You finally said it, Sheba says, voice trembling a little. I swear I'll make you happy for the rest of your life. I'll make you the happiest wife in the world. Sheba vows, taking Spacey's hand in his and placing a kiss on the back of her hand. She lets Sheba kiss her with his hot lips, feeling slightly defeated. This forceful man, this detestable man, this horrible man, but you love every fucking ounce of it. She still holds these opinions about him, but even those opinions are now imbued with affection. Spacey extends her arms wide and returns Sheba's embrace. I feel like there's no way this isn't the end, you know? She hopes her hug can convey all of the warm feelings in her heart that she can't put into words. Oh, nope, there's still more! Okay, I really just felt like that was like... I mean, I'm sure they're gonna like tie it up in a bow, but I just kind of felt like if it ended there, you'd be like, alright, we know what happens. A new day begins, and at a glance, nothing about it seems different compared to the previous days. It's like, kind of, I figured this would be the last part, and then the next part would be, like, doing the bad endings, but, like, I have a feeling that, like, there's gonna be, like, a little wrap-up, and the next part's gonna be, like, 10 minutes. So, well, we'll see. Fujita comes to wake her up in the morning, and then she proceeds to wash her face, change her clothes, and have breakfast in the dining room. Afterwards, she spends a relaxing time sipping at a cup of tea. That's her daily routine, and her morning today goes just like her previous mornings. But to Spacey, this morning is undeniably different, because she had sex yesterday. And she suspects that Fujita is aware of it. Anyone could tell what happened between the two of them by looking at Sheba's satisfied face when he left the manor after staying for hours yesterday. He's just like, they're like, something is... Girl. And by looking at Spacey, who went about the rest of the day with her head above the clouds and far-gazing eyes. Such a weird feeling. Kind of embarrassing, too, especially when everybody knows. She made a promise with Sheba that she would marry him. She needs to tell her older brother about this. But Mizuhito doesn't seem to be home this morning. Maybe he'll be back tonight. She's torn between wanting to inform him immediately and delaying the news. With an emotion that she can't quite put a name on filling her chest, Spacey looks out the window and stares blankly at the garden. The quietness, however, is short-lived. My lady... Sheba's sudden appearance nearly makes Spacey drop her teacup. What is your problem? No, sorry. Did I startle you? Oh, certainly did. Why are you here so early in the morning? She recalls what happened yesterday. She still isn't sure how to face him, but here he is, early and unannounced. That's basically Sheba's whole M.O. Fujita, who left to prepare some more tea for Spacey, comes running from the kitchen after hearing her scream. His eyes widen when they land on Sheba. Mr. Sheba, what brought you here, sir? I can't do his voice right now. Sorry for barging in first thing in the morning. One thing led to another, and now I'm free for today. When I found out about it, I rushed here without even thinking. Sheesh, I don't get it. Why your visits are always sudden? Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. Really, it just happened. Sheba laughs calmly, not the least bit apologetic. Fujita can't hide his surprise. He shifts his gaze from Sheba to Spacey. He's like, please not on the dining room table. Mr. Sheba, are you feeling better now? Yeah, his whole thing is you just needed... Never mind. Yeah, it wasn't anything serious. Someone gave me plenty of nutrition for the soul yesterday, too. You're just, like, they'd already know, and then you're just making it even obvious. Sheba! Rest assured, my lady, I won't say humiliating things about you. And by the way, my lady, you're to join me for a little trip. Huh? A trip? The offer comes out of nowhere, and Spacey blanks. I can't, not when you just brought it up out of nowhere. You're not planning to go on that trip now. Oh, right? Actually, yes. No time like the present, or so they say. You can't be serious. Oh, God, why do you have to do everything without informing me in advance? Oh, why not, though? You don't have anything special planned today, do you? Huh? Well, no, but... And then let's go. You don't mind if I take her out, do you, Fujita? Huh? Oh, not at all, sir. But it's not my place to agree or disagree here, since the master's... the master's currently not home. Sorry to plug in my tablet. I have to make sure it's actually charging, because, like, it's got to the point where it was like, the battery's gonna die, and it's like, we don't need it anymore, because there's no more choices left, so. For at least the time being. And I doubt this part's gonna end, you know, here, so, I don't know, anyway. You can pass on the message to him. And besides, it's only a one-day trip. I guess we've got everything covered. Come on, my lady. Huh? Seriously? Hey, stop pulling me! Sheba and his impulse drag her toward his waiting car. Spacey thrashes in Sheba's... I can't read. And Fujita watches them, flabbergasted, before bidding her a nice day. She sighs, knowing that she'll have to deal with a sulking brother later. Jeez, how can you be so crazy? Thanks for the compliment. Not a compliment! Hey, don't be mad. Oops, I forgot. Forgot what? He quickly pulls her into an embrace. She opens her mouth to protest, but Sheba brings his face closer and pecks her on the lips. I forgot to give you today's greeting kiss. I'm sorry this date started in a flurry. Spacey freezes, her cheeks flushed. Date? Of course, it's not wrong to call this trip a date, given that they're two people who promised to marry each other. But she thinks she still needs time to get used to their new relationship. They've done everything a couple of man and woman can possibly do together in bed. Well, everything? Girl, that was a trip for sure. But a simple kiss still makes her heart skip a beat. You know, but it should be that way. You know what I mean? You should get a little fluttery when the person you love kisses you. Like, it's been years, but I still love it, you know? Not, oh my god, I'm so embarrassed, but like, it makes me giggly, you know? Oh, your face is red, my lady. Hush! So, where are we going? Right, I also forgot to tell you about our destination. Well, it's this place that I suddenly had the urge to visit after finally revealing everything to you yesterday. Are we going back to the freaking hotel that we met at? Huh? Are you talking about... Yeah, Hakone, the hotel where we first met. And that's where you're going to propose. Even though we've already agreed to marry you, but still. The car drives up the long and winding road, and they arrive at the hotel in Miyanoshita? Yeah, Miyanoshita. Okay. Hakone, a little bit past noon. They're just throwing all the fucking Japanese locations at me. Spacey stands in front of the whitewashed gatepost, and she sighs, feeling a rush of nostalgia wash over her. Did you miss this place? Yes, I've lost count of how many years it's been. Back when her family was wealthy, back when they could spend their summer days in a villa. Her family would sometimes eat at this hotel, the very place where she first encountered young Sheba. Although the memory of their encounter only came back to her in vivid detail yesterday. I've always wanted to visit this hotel again. You. Sheba. I don't know why, but I felt anxious right after I confessed everything to you. I couldn't stop asking myself if my memory of our encounter was real or if this hotel was real. It's quite uncharacteristic of you. You're absolutely right. Come on, let's take a look at the garden. The garden that expands before them doesn't look that much different from the one in Spacey's memory. The trees are just as beautiful and well trimmed. The small stream that flows inside the garden is just as clear. Back in those days, she'd walk along the stream with her father, mother, and brother. They'd walk, and she would run around excitedly. Aww. Look, we're having a cute CG. Her head is so giant, though. We're having a cute CG moment. Her head is really... I know it's because her hair is, like, poofy, but it also just makes her look like an egghead. It's like, that's the awkward proportion she has. Not the giant eyes. It's the giant, bulbousy, like, skull. Again, it's probably we've got her hair poofed, but it's just... It looks kind of awkward in a drawing, you know? Anyway. You know, I never stopped visiting this place. Not even after I learned that your villa had been transferred to someone else. Because I thought I'd be able to meet that girl here again. Funny, really. My image of you was still of this little girl. And when I knew you must be growing as well. So were you disappointed when you saw a grown-up me for the first time? Of course I wasn't. But it was indeed a reminder that time does flow. It made me realize how much time had passed. How much time I'd spent before I could meet you again. That's true. So much time has passed since those summer days that I used to spend here. Those good old days. Days when her father, mother, and brother didn't have a single thing they were unhappy about. Or maybe they did. Maybe those happy days were just an illusion. Still, back then, Spacey truly did feel happy. Aww. So glad that I got to meet you again. Sheba, everything started from here. I met you and swore to myself to make a fresh start in life. It all happened on the day you gave me your white handkerchief. Here in this garden. If you don't still have that handkerchief... His eyes are watering, I just noticed that. I saw, like, her eyes squint up and I knew they kind of changed, but, like, I didn't realize, like, his eyes are teary. Aww, it's kind of adorable. To Sheba, that was the day his life took a completely new direction. To Spacey, that was just another mediocre and ordinary day. Not much different from those preceding it. Following those happy days, the Nomiya family gradually fell into ruin. At the same time, Sheba must have been focused on trying to survive, day after day. When Spacey ponders on these things, she finds Sheba's enormous efforts and extraordinary zeal deeply inspiring. Sheba places his hot palms on her shoulders and wraps her in a firm embrace. Without saying anything, Spacey rests her face on Sheba's chest. Tears are welling up in the eyes of the uncouth and awkward man, but not wanting to hurt his pride, she pretends not to notice. Honestly, that's when you do notice, and you just, like, wipe his tear away and just stare lovingly at him and think how beautiful it is that he's crying, because it's okay to cry. We're just going to keep going a little bit. We might make this part a little bit longer, because I feel like we're getting to an end, and I don't want to stop now, and then the next part be, like, 10 fucking minutes. You know what I mean? If for some reason I'm recording this, and... like, all of a sudden it's like 2 hours, I will edit it, and I will do an ending, and just whatever. You know what I mean? But for now, we'll go a little bit longer because I feel like, again, so. As soon as Spacey expressed her consent to marry Sheba, their wedding preparations began. Mizuhito was lost for words, and for a while after hearing the news, but he eventually gave his approval. Fujita and Majima were equally surprised at first because they knew how much Spacey hated Sheba, but they soon expressed their happiness for her because at last something auspicious was going to happen to the household after a train of misfortunes. Tokuko, who had brought up the matchmaking talk with Ida and Spacey's relatives, immediately gave their blessing to the wedding when they heard that Sheba was a man that Shigeko approved of when she was alive. Although the most important reason for their instant approval must have been because Sheba, despite being nouveau riche, is wealthy enough to solve the household's financial condition and therefore help the family maintain its honor. However, deciding on a date for their wedding is an easy task because it hasn't been that long since her mother's funeral. The Nomiya household prefers the wedding to be held at least a year after Shigeko's death, but Sheba insists they get married as quickly as possible. This has caused Fujita, who values etiquette, great problems. In the end, they decided to register themselves as husband and wife first and hold the wedding ceremony after the first anniversary of her mother's death. Without a wedding ceremony, society won't acknowledge their marriage, and so they decide to continue living separately for the time being. She's still having a hard time believing she's married because nothing obvious has changed. Still, Sheba and Spacey are indeed married, and it's a fact. It's funny, like, if you don't have a wedding ceremony, you're not married. Well, we went down and we have legal paperwork. The paperwork's nothing! Unless you're wearing a white dress, it's nothing. It's so funny. Sheba's even more excited about their wedding than Spacey. That Spacey. It's supposed to be then Spacey. He keeps asking her opinions in regards to where they should hold their wedding ceremony. Spacey vaguely imagines herself on her wedding day, wearing a pure white wedding kimono, and she wonders if she'll finally feel like a married woman at that moment. I mean, yeah, because then your husband will actually live with you instead of, like, now where he's sneaking in, you're boning, like, whatever, and everyone's like, you're like, stop gasping, it's not inappropriate, we're actually legally married, we just haven't had the ceremony yet, Jesus! Like... But it's actually kind of fun, like, we're married, so it's not wrong, but at the same time it feels a little wrong because we're sneaking around and like, woo! It's so fucking weird. Things have been going swimmingly until one day, Sheba, who's always in good spirits whenever he visits the Nomiya household, comes to the dining room with an unusually troubled look on his face. I just figured this was going to be the wrap-up, but no, I guess we're going to still go, so... Alright, well... Anyway, we'll see what happens here. What's wrong? You look gloomy, Sheba. Having just finished helping to sort the stuff in the storehouse, Spacey's relaxing in the dining room while sipping at her tea. Sheba drags a chair to sit next to Spacey, heaves a deep sigh, and drops his voice as if he's talking about a secret. I got wind of something a little bothersome. Huh? What are you talking about? The fact that my brother probably has like 14 bastard kids? A shadow of anxiety quickly looms over Spacey's chest. Has something come up that might prevent their marriage? She pales, her brain coming up with the worst-case scenario. But Sheba guesses the thoughts in Spacey's mind, and he smiles wryly. I'm not talking about the wedding. It's a different story. Is it? So what's this bothersome issue about? You see, it's always been on my mind. And the reason why Ida refused to marry you. She hasn't heard of that family name in a long time. I mean, I'm assuming it's only been like, we've been married and pretending for like a couple of months or something, because I'm like, it really hasn't been that long, but she hasn't heard of that family name in a long time, but her matchmaking interview with the son of the Ida family actually took place not so long ago. Although the matchmaking fell apart, she was able to move on and forget about the Ida family pretty easily. She tries to hide the blush creeping up her cheeks when she realizes her own heartlessness. Then again, it shows how big Sheba's existence is in her life. When this man is in her field of vision, everything else turns hazy. And so I invited him to lunch and asked him directly today. He told me something unbelievable. Something unbelievable? Ida drove you home after the marriage interview, didn't he? Yes, he did. He drove his own car. He saw a familiar man in front of the manor's gates, but he couldn't recall his name right away. What? Is he talking about Majima? Oh my god, you can't bring out that Majima's like Chinese mafia and killed our parents! You can't do that here! You can't do that! She recalls Michio's guarded facial expression on that day. He brushed it off with a laugh, saying he thought he saw someone suspicious. But was there another reason for his reaction? You can't do this now! You can't! You had a happy end and then you have to bring it up later. Had Michio met Majima before? Not exactly, no. Seems it's more like a situation where Ida, I don't know why I want to say Ida, I don't know. Ida knows what Majima looks like, but nothing more. Listen, Spacey, the story I'm about to tell you is true. Things could get very nasty with that guy. Sheba's tone is serious, and it's puzzling, Spacey. So this isn't just a case of Majima being a familiar face to Michio? Michio knows who Majima is, and he must have met him before Majima started working for the Nomiya household. Or maybe he saw him in the city. Judging from Sheba's words, however, the answer seems to be way more complicated than that. And yet she can't come up with any explanation. You can't involve the mystery now! Hey, what do you mean? Why is it a problem that Michio knows Majima? It seems that Ida saw the man in Shanghai. Shanghai? She repeats in confusion, not expecting the city name to come out in this conversation. Are you sure it's not a mistake? Majima's been working as our gardener for years. He couldn't have gone to China. But who can guarantee that? Shanghai is the nearest foreign city to Japan. You don't have to travel for days to reach it, unlike America or Europe. I'm sure your household gives the gardener a few days off, right? And Chinese, but what did I say? Stop it! You can't bring out that Majima's sus now! You have to do that in the last part, really? Stop it! This came out of nowhere. I mean, it's not true. But I'm like, the game was going to forget that our parents died and there was a mystery. Nope, they brought it back at the end. They're like, happy days. Oh, by the way, did you forget? Yes, I did, game. Well, yes, actually, I think he does take consecutive days off and go somewhere at fixed intervals. But still, Majima's just a gardener. Besides, what business would he have in Shanghai? Now that's the problem. He may be more than just a gardener. I don't... Shit. What? No way! That's outrageous. Or so she wants to say, but she realizes that she knows almost nothing about Majima. Except for the fact that Majima is here as the household's gardener, Macy doesn't know if he has family out there or his activities up until now. She knows nothing. It's partly because Majima doesn't talk very much about himself, and partly because Spacey's never tried to probe into his life. Maybe she's just trying to defend her selfish bias toward the innocent man who loves plants. And he can't possibly have such a complex background, goes to China, brings back Chinese bellflowers, kills our parents. I'm just saying! Shit! All this time, Spacey's convinced that the gardener Majima, the Majima inside the manor, is his one and only facet. Besides, what's so wrong about Majima being in Shanghai? Ida went to Shanghai for business negotiations, saw Majima in the finest French restaurant in the city. He was sitting at the most privileged table with a Chinese man. And the thing is that's why Majima stayed, even though we can't afford really to pay him. He doesn't need the money, because he was here to kill our parents. It makes so much sense. I can't believe this is coming out now and making you like you're gonna fall in love with him. Stop it. You can't do that, game. It kind of ruins it. I don't know if it ruins it or makes it more intriguing. I'm not really sure. The restaurant's a board that says Chinese guests aren't welcome, which means the Chinese man must be an extremely important figure. But then what does that say about the man who shared a table with such an influential person? I think it's really funny that there's a restaurant in Shanghai that's like, no Chinese people. You're in China. Could you imagine going to like a restaurant in America? No Americans. Excuse me? What? That's so fucking weird. So Ida's asked his business partner, who said that the Chinese man's a boss of a notorious underground organization in the area, and the person sitting next to him is the head of an opium trafficking organization. I told you the Chinese mafia killed our parents. It's the Chinese bellflower. And then the grandma seems to know, and like, words are stuck in her throat. Maybe he didn't kill her, but you know what I mean? It was like, he killed our parents, it's shady, and now he's just a fucking opium dealer. Did opium come up before? Did I mention that? I don't know, but that's funny as shit. Oh my god. The story's too preposterous to process, let alone accept. Shanghai, you said? An underground organization? Opium trafficking? Those words shouldn't even be spoken in the same breath with the name Majima. Majima, the household's gardener, although if you think about it, we should have been sus because, like, every time I hear Majima, all I think of is Yakuza, and it's like, well, shady, yeah, alright. Spacey feels a lot like she's just heard an urban legend. I'm sure he got the wrong person. It must be someone awfully similar to Majima. Ina thought so too. Did a little bit of research and came across another strange finding. There's no human alive named Majima. That's gotta be a lie. That can't just be like I mean, what? What is that supposed to mean? The name Majima is his alias. His alias? Her voice comes out louder than she expected, and she covers her mouth in a panic. She stares at Sheba, waiting for him to tell her he's just joking, but the air around them is anything but hilarious. Alias? Can't be true. Why does Majima have to use an alias? That's actually what I find suspicious. A mere gardener should have no need for an alias unless that man isn't just an ordinary servant. But still, you can't say for sure that Majima is the same man that Ida met in Shanghai. I agree. Ida tried to look for the details in the man's past, but it came up empty-handed. And it wasn't even because he couldn't find anything. The man's past is entirely unknown. His past is like a huge blank. But I don't believe it. Majima's unexpected hidden facet stuns Spacey. Everyone has a past as soon as they're born into this world and open their mouths for their first cry. However, now she's learning that Majima is nothing of that sort. Of course, his past couldn't have been entirely wiped out. He's just hiding his past by using the alias Majima. But why does he have to hide his past? If his life is anything but abnormal, there should be no need for him to conceal his past. The reason must be something dark. That's the only explanation she can come up with. A person similar to Majima is the head of an opium trafficking organization. His information differs so greatly from the gentle Majima that Spacey knows, and it puts her at a loss. Well, at least we know we're not just marrying the gardener. He's got an opium trafficking bit, so he's got money, so Majima's the Yang of this game, and you just didn't realize that was coming. Ina seems to have come to the conclusion that this dangerous man's hiding inside your house. And that's why they rejected me? Yeah, Ida himself is a businessman, and trust is the most important thing in his line of work. Sure, he doesn't want to approach a household that shelters someone so dangerous. But then, why didn't you run away? Huh? You're such a fool. Sheba smiles softly at Spacey and pulls her in for an embrace. He's like, you didn't know, and we're gonna fire him. I'm different from some guy who just met you yesterday or last week. I've been chasing you all my life, remember? But, so I'll figure out the truth. My obsession for you runs much deeper than you think. I won't back down just because there's a suspicious man in your household. Sheba. Sheba's words make her feel relieved. However, how is he planning to uncover the truth? He can't possibly think of asking Majima in person, can he? She can't help but feel uneasy. At that time, the door to the dining room opens and reveals Fujita. Oh, Mr. Sheba, so you did come to visit. Hey, Fujita. Yeah, thanks for having me here again today. What's wrong? Sir, your company called. There seems to be an urgent case, and they ask that you return as soon as possible. The heck? Why now of all times? Sheba clicks his tongue lightly and sighs. Sorry, Spacey. I'll be back. Tonight at the latest. And then we can have dinner together. You don't have to concern yourself with me if you're busy. Just, please, don't be reckless. Don't worry. As long as I have you by my side, I can accomplish even the impossible. Oh, come on. There you go again. While Sheba's overconfident words make her feel appalled, a part of her is happy to hear them. Her past self must not have imagined that she'd be able to spend peaceful times with Sheba like this. Bye. I'll be right back. Be a good girl and wait for me. Sheba pushes up Spacey's bangs and lightly kisses her forehead. We don't have bangs. Hey! Don't treat me like a child! Shh. Forehead kisses are nice. Shut up. Alright, do you prefer a more mature kiss then? I don't need any of that! Just go! Laughing as he looks at Spacey's bright red face, Sheba gets up from his seat. Such a mean man. A vulgar man. While sniffing the lingering scent of his cologne, Spacey presses her palms against her red cheeks, feeling the warmth of her blush. Sheesh. How many times has she let that man sleep with her? They're a married couple, but because they have yet to have a formal wedding, the guilt is still plaguing Spacey's mind. It all started because of her weak will that allowed it to happen the first time, though. Since then, Sheba's come to her repeatedly, and her spinelessness has prevented her from refusing. She disgusts herself. You like it. Spacey never thought she could be such a weak-willed person. Even if she wants to refuse, the waves of Sheba's stifling zeal are enough to render her powerless. She's never had a man express his will to marry her in such a straightforward and rough ways, and so Sheba's blatant expressions of affection often baffle her. I wonder if we can I'm a proper married couple. Things are relatively calm because they're still living separately, but she's honestly a bit scared to find out what will happen. They live under the same roof, and she has to face this zeal tenfold. She's thought of running away from him many times, so can she really endure the full intensity of her marriage with Sheba? My lady. What is it, Fujita? Macy jumps at the abrupt sound of her name. I was looking for a good place to stop because obviously this isn't going to end in the next few minutes. We're going to have to go longer, so and here's the funny part. Reading Otome Kitten's guide, she finished it in 20 to 25 hours. It's been 11. Half of that time we've spent just in Sheba's run. I know I talk a lot, but I can't possibly talk that much where we've wasted 8 hours of, you know what I mean? Jesus. My apologies for startling you. I was wondering if you'd like a refill of tea. Oh, right. I've had enough, thank you. Very well. Wait a minute, Fujita. Beastie hastily calls out to Fujita as he gets ready to leave. Yes, how can I help you? I'd like to ask you a few questions about Majima. Majima? Very well. Okay. I'm gonna stop here. We're never gonna get to the end of this scene. We should have stopped, before. So I'm gonna cockblock us all a little bit, but it's 20 minutes past, and it's just, I was like, okay, we should get to the end, and then he comes in with the Majima thing, and then it was, too intense to, stop there, but I guess, I don't really know. I didn't think his route, because there's no more choices, I figured, okay, we're getting to the end, and, no, we're not. We're just gonna... So, this was a super long part, and I know I'm, cutting it off in the middle, but we'll get into the asking Fujita questions about Majima in the next part, because, what... I don't know what's happening anymore. Anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.